The Vincina Protocol is a project that was created in Conneaut, Ohio, focused on my wife's illness, where we took many doctor visits to later find out that she had ALS. So this particular project tells the entire story of the beginning, how this affected our lives, the financial hardship that comes along with the disease, where the spouse has to quit what he or she is doing and be the caregiver to the spouse 24 hours, 7 days a week, because there are no insurance policies that would cover nursing care at the onset 24/7. So we experienced all of that. We wanted to explain how that all worked, and then we started realizing that we could write a new medical protocol. So we enlisted people such as Richard, people such as Yoki, people that we had on our project, Cheryl and David Walker of Media Magic Ohio. We started putting the right people together who could talk to the public, and then we documented all of that interaction, and we created a mobile app that is called the Vincina Protocol that tells the entire story. We then created a new mobile app that supported the first mobile app, and that particular app was called the Mike Helfinstine Interviews, which basically tells of all the stories and interviews that we've done with people since March of 2013. So we have an app that is evolving. It's a free download, and the Vincina Protocol has done many public hearings, one in Conneaut, Ohio with the City Council, giving 60 pages of documents of toxic drums dumping in neighborhoods in Conneaut, and we're trying to attract the attention of EPA to come up and do a health assessment as to what is causing these disease clusters in Conneaut that have been ongoing, that we've recorded since 1990. We have a paper trail that goes all the way back to 1974, which we have been collecting, and this creates the Vincina Protocol.
Now, after you made your presentation to the Conneaut Council, have you had any feedback from them since then?
The City Council accepted our 60 pages. They appointed Debbie Newcomb to be our contact person. She made connection with Capri Cafaro, our senator for the state of Ohio. We then got a chance to meet John Patterson, who got on that conversation as well. So we started with a great group of people. We're waiting for some sort of a statement. We haven't received it yet, but we understand that getting the attention of Ohio EPA is something, that these politicians have the ability to connect with, and we expect, some sort of an outcome. At this point, we have not received any information.
Have you had any update when you might receive this information?
No, we've talked to a few of the people in town, and there's a little concern as to what kind of light is being shed on Conneaut. So the politicians are walking very carefully. They're making absolutely certain that the public gets the correct information, and we know this takes time, and we hope by using this type of announcement to the public that it will keep the politicians on point and inspiring them to get the correct information to the public.
Do you have a timetable in mind for that?
What's interesting about that is we expected that to occur by now. We understand that there obviously are some issues that we don't understand. So what we're seeing is A lot of this data, the Vincina Protocol, has been captured by other people, and those people are pursuing this information. Our making of the documentary, the Vincina Protocol, has been difficult. The challenge is getting sponsors to actually participate now. Um, since our project that dates back even when we were involved with Met.com, when we started that particular project, it was in 2001, right after the death of Angela Boggs, who was shot in a house party. All of that data uh, kind of connects with the Vincina Protocol, and that's part of the story. And we're getting corporations, we're getting companies that are actively involved and doing their own investigations, which is very promising for us. Um, we have an interest that we've allowed these corporations to have access to our information. And there's been some companies that are actually taking more information than they were allowed to take. So that seems to be a new subject. And we are trying to balance all of that out so that it benefits the public. We have one corporation that has been of interest to us, and that is the Wells Fargo Corporation. They have demonstrated their ability to get information that is not necessarily understood by me yet, but what we were able to do is find that these type of corporations need a little more active, let's call it litigation. And in the process of that, the Wells Fargo company, by some method, were able to actually get into our home and take our data, and we have brought all of that before law firms. We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago with 5 of the law firms discussing the matter on how that material was taken and why. And now what we're seeing is, for the first time, Wells Fargo was very, very interested in the Vincina Protocol. They presented to us 2 weeks ago nearly 400 to 500 pages of exhibits, and they are actively investigating the data. And we see that all of this data is going to play out in a courtroom, which will give the Vincina Protocol a very interesting position in the market, which we normally would never have had.
Do you have any idea why they're interested in the Vincina Protocol project?
Yeah, our home was broken into, and for some reason, the Vincina Protocol was of interest to certain people, and those people being within the Wells Fargo umbrella. And we got to meet those law firms 2 weeks ago, and we are now discussing those issues, which most of the issues we can't talk about because the attorneys are involved in an action of law, and we're sorting out all these issues, which is cool at the moment. All of these issues now are public record.
I'm Richard Bargielski. I'm a cultural anthropology graduate student at Ohio State University. I study the anthropology of scientific knowledge and how environmental knowledge and health knowledge are both socially constructed, and the implications that has for small communities like Conneaut. I got in contact with Mike actually because a friend of mine posted a Facebook story about his group, and they seem to be a really good fit for the research that I wanted to undertake, because they are, obviously a group that's trying to change medical protocol. And we talked, and it seemed like it was a good fit. And we agreed that both Mike and I had a lot that we could offer each other. I could offer them my expertise as an anthropologist, my ability to look at qualitative data and to help them figure out the things they want. And in turn, by observing them, I get to complete a master's thesis and get a degree, which is great.
Okay, and what would your master's thesis be?
So the title of it is Knowledge is Power, Discourses of Science, Legitimacy, and Health in Conneaut, Ohio. But the thesis itself is just an investigation of how people living along the shores of Lake Erie in rural Ohio conceive of environmental knowledge, the gatekeepers who are involved in that, and the implications that that has.
There are lakes that are near Columbus that have some of the same issues going on as we have in Lake Erie relative to cyanobacteria and the neurotoxin released called BMAA. So in pursuing this, by meeting someone like Yoki, I'm able to connect with people in Columbus and actually build a team. We've done that in Cincinnati with a lady called Chella Marie. We've done this in Akron, which we had the Akron ladies, Linda Wilson Hughes and Terry Armity and Annie Carmody. All these individuals helped us create the Akron team. Odell Lyde, owning a band, was able to go out and do meet and greets for us and introduce us to people so that we could spread the word about our program, the Vincina Protocol. And that approach gave us new people to meet, and we started building a network of team builders, if you will, and we started focusing on telling the story of the Conneaut disease cluster, which we're finding similar events in other communities up and down the corridor of I-90, north of I-90, overlooking Lake Erie. As we pursued this, we found that connecting with the general public, giving a meet and greet that was free access, we learned that we needed a tool to get to the public, and we chose to build mobile apps that would give us that ability to promote the making of the documentary, the Vincina Protocol. And still, you know, we spent a year now in doing meet and greets. It's a very slow process, telling the story over and over. We found people like Yoki, people like Chella Marie, people like Richard. As they go forward and tell our story, we connect with new people. And when we released the mobile app, we had a spike of people actually connecting with us in all parts of the country and in different parts of other countries. It was a very, very interesting tool, and it was a free download called the Vincina Protocol. In the mobile app, those who have an Android system would go to Google Play and download it from that platform. If they had an iPhone, they would go to the iTunes App Store and download it free under the Vincina Protocol keyword for a free download. And we've had a very interesting a response on that as the app is starting to evolve. The way that we built the app is a very simple system that gave us the ability to upload new information to the app, giving us the ability for the app to evolve, telling the story. The app is a tool to connect people with us who have questions about ALS, questions about the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, or stories about family members that are, you know, dealing with the complications of ALS. So it's a tool to communicate directly to the people that have downloaded the app, and we exchange stories, and thereby building this app on different levels, different layers of different stories. Right now, the story of my wife, Vincina Helfinstine, is on the app, telling the entire story as to how this all came about, what we experienced, which we believe will be helpful to other people that are getting diagnosed with ALS or having similar symptoms without a diagnosis. May lead them to a doctor that can give a greater understanding to their illness. As we went forward with this, we developed a very interesting relationship with Cincinnati, who's developing a whole program called Catwalk. Catwalk is an event where the public is brought in to explain the Vincina Protocol in a very, very artistic way, where the experience is an educational factor, and this is done through a series of fashion events that a lady called Chella Marie Smith of Cincinnati, who's been working on this project. I want to say she started in August of 2014. So Chella has been reviewing all our data, looking at all of this, and she's come up with a program called Catwalk, which will give us a real nice connection with Cincinnati, and they will be telling the Conneaut story. Chella has been an actor since she was 18, and she's got about 15, 16 years in acting. So she is connecting with people to explain who we are and what we're doing and getting the story out, which is extremely important. What we see now is the Catwalk is going to be a launching pad for our project to actually attract the public to give us stories and to interview them. And this is where Richard comes into play. Richard will have the ability to do approximately a 45-minute interview with different people in Northern Ohio, and Cincinnati is going to inspire people to do those interviews. They're going to come up to Conneaut and spend about a week meeting people and discussing the interview issues.
So what I'll be doing with Mike and his organization during that week of filming is I'll be following them as an anthropologist and doing two things. I'll be taking participant observation notes of all the things that they're doing and all the activities that they're participating in. And I'll also be interviewing people, both who've been involved with the Vincina Protocol and who Mike points me towards, who have in some way been affected by ALS while living in Ashtabula County. And this data will produce two things. It'll produce data that will hopefully be useful to the Vincina Protocol as they move forward trying to create their protocol. And it'll also produce hopefully a couple of potentially peer-reviewed publications in some anthropology journals, and that will, contribute to the anthropological literature, contribute to that body of knowledge, and hopefully maybe even get some other people interested and aware that this is an issue that's going on.
How long a project is this for you?
Indeterminate. I have approval for up to 1 year from Ohio State, and depending on how things go between now and that time, it could potentially be amended and expanded. My eventual goal that I would like to do is I'd like to create a dissertation that compares how Mike and his group are using environmental knowledge to Native American environmental justice organizations in the Western U.S., and so that I can compare the kinds of discourse that they're participating in, the ways that they're approaching knowledge, and the ways that they're grappling with power throughout all of this.